Welcome everyone. This is Amore from Margie Pienaar Estates. Today we've got Johan Muller back from Snyman De Jager. Welcome, Johan.
Hi, Amore. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to people about the law for those who are willing to listen. So I believe we've got some points of discussion that we would like to clarify today.
Yes, I think today we've got a few topics that is really relevant and of interest of a lot of people. Today we want to talk about real estate agents and why are we not allowed to work? Why am I as an estate agent in the Moed not allowed to work while I can be as safe as I can? I can wear a mask. I can do social distancing. I go to the shop. Why am I not allowed to let clients walk through a property, even if they walk by themselves through the property and I wait outside? I know what is the right stuff to do to make sure that everyone is safe. Why am I not allowed to work?
Well, I think, there's quite a lengthy answer to that specific question as well as a very short one, but the long of it is that it's obviously not permissible in terms of the current regulations. Obviously certain professions such as ourselves being attorneys have been exempt under level 4, and we've got equal restrictions with regards to our offices that only a third of our workforce can obviously commence with their activities. So we've got stringent rules in this regard, but I think you've got a very valid question. I think if there is a specific profession that justifies going back to work and obviously plays an incredibly important role in the whole property industry, it is the estate agent. And especially if you think about a physical viewing of a property or even a rental property or residential property for purposes of purchase, the chances are quite slim that you will accommodate more than, say, 2 people, maybe 3 people at a given stage to view a property. And if the necessary precautions and measures are in place, I think the chances of the spreading of the virus is much less than in most of our commercial spheres where people are now permitted to function and to work. And I think it's high tide for the government to seriously consider the plea that estate agents go back and become fully functional again. And I think this couples with the industries that are permitted to work but are left with a void as one of these specific important role players in the chain of events are not permitted to work. With all due respect, attorneys, especially conveyancing attorneys, are dependent upon transactions that are generated by estate agents. And although we can attend to certain of the transactions in the pipeline, we can't attend to transactions or new transactions because they are just not generated at this current stage, unless it is on a view later basis or subjected to a viewing at a later stage. So it's equally frustrating for us as well, and I do not believe that it poses such a huge risk as some of the other commercial entities that are permitted to fully function per se. So unfortunately, the long answer to a very abrupt or short problem, and that is obviously that the rules do not permit it. We do believe that it will change soon. We actually anticipated that President Ramaphosa would make an announcement yesterday evening, and I think a lot of people are a bit disappointed in the fact that we did not get any answers to our questions, but basically just a bit of a pacifying answer to some of our questions, or not even an answer. But
it's not really an answer. I think that's the thing is, and people don't realize this, but real estate agents sometimes don't really have a voice because most of real estate agents are maybe one agent in an agency. There's a lot of the real estate agent workforce that operate by themselves. And this is very difficult for us to have a voice to say, please, on our behalf, make a compelling case to the ministers, to the presidency, to inform them what important job us as real estate agents have and what we play in this whole economy. Because it's not only attorneys that's affected by this, but a lot of other people as well. Banks are now affected by that as well. Today, I just want to mention is 14 May. So if the legislations or regulations change after this, just bear this in mind. We try to inform everyone, but at this stage, we are not allowed to work, and that's hugely frustrating. So I think most of the agents are trying to do innovative approaches to work, but it's still not the same. A person still wants to walk through the property.
Definitely. I think you will always have that element of personal contact that people, thrive upon and they definitely need. I can just maybe add that a lot of role players that are interactively involved with estate agents have also raised their voices. I mean, the Law Society has obviously climbed on board. And then the Banking Council, which plays a very prominent role in the financing of our property industry, has equally voiced its concerns with regards to the fact that estate agents cannot operate at this current stage. They have directed an appeal to the minister to reconsider, because as we all know, role players like Reboza and IASA and those specific entities that do represent the estate agents have equally raised their voices and said, this is bordering on the absurd at this current stage. We do need to start working, and we need the estate agents to get the economic wheels rolling again with regards to the property industry. So I do believe that the voices of the correct people and institutions are with the minister at the moment, and that we will see an unlocking of the profession quite soon. We really think that it will hammer some sense into the government at this current stage to confirm the important role that estate agents do play, and we need to get you guys, so to say, back on the streets. It sounds bad, but I mean that is actually where you function and where you need to be. Yes. So that's very important.
And I think I just want to mention, Johan, I think guys like you from Snyman De Jager, put your voice with all of the other attorneys like the Law Society to make a compelling case for us to start working. And I think I want to thank you for doing these interviews with us, because I think a lot of the real estate agents are looking at these interviews for answers. If this is a platform that we can use that really gives answers, and we want to thank you from Snyman De Jager for giving us that answers and actively on a daily basis putting your voice with all the other attorneys to say, let them work.
No, thank you very much. Especially at Snyman De Jager, I think all my colleagues in the same profession as I am are equally dependent upon the estate agents and the important and proactive role that you play. Just to put it bluntly, for those who don't know, I mean, the estate agent is the first person who actually makes contact with the seller. By procuring a mandate to sell a specific property. If it was not for the intervention or the specific proactive introduction of the estate agent, the attorney and even the bond originator or the bank for that specific matter would never know about this transaction. So you are the link in the chain that is basically in the forefront of the whole specific transaction, and therefore it's of the utmost importance that the front runner has to come back to the game. It's important.
And I think that's why we from Margie Pienaar Estates also try to be a voice for some of the estate agents that got a lot of questions that can't be answered. My next question to you is, but I heard that we can have permits. Can that not help me to work now?
Well, I think we have to have a look at exactly in what specific sphere and why the permits were granted, or, the back door was open for that permit. We spoke last time about tenants who have experienced lockdown as such under a rental premises that they are in prior to lockdown, of which the lease agreement had lapsed, or they need to move but they couldn't as a result of lockdown. And then equally people who have prior to lockdown received transfer of a property in the deeds office but couldn't move as a result of lockdown. So they were, as to put it bluntly, landlocked due to the lockdown it's such, and they needed to move. So that gave rise to the 7th of May and the relaxation of the right to move. So those specific tenants could apply for a permit to move, and that obviously caused a void, because in a lot of those instances you have estate agents that regulate that rental, and now that the rental has lapsed due to the inflection of time or for whatever reason, and the parties need to move, somebody has to do the ingoing or outgoing inspection, and that was not permitted under the previous regulations. So I think they just played a little bit of a catch-up to say, all right, if the estate agent is involved in this specific rental, which now needs to vacate or need to occupy, then in that regard, that relevant estate agent can apply for a permit to conduct the ingoing or outgoing inspection. So that basically the reason. Unfortunately, one would like to interpret it as wide as possible and obviously apply for a permit to do your daily activities, but it is confined to those specific instances where people are making use of the relaxation of the specific lockdown move and relaxation of those specific aspects to do the ingoing and outgoing inspection. Unfortunately, it's only limited to that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So we do really hope that we will hear positive news soon. But why is the deeds office now open? Are they functioning? What's happening? Maybe you can give us the latest on that.
Yes, Amore, I have actually been to the deeds office since the 13th that it opened. I think a lot of conveyancers have been queuing there to
anxiously waiting to start work.
Anxiously awaiting, and obviously taking all their long-awaited lodgements to the deeds office, because the first information that we've received was that lodgements would take place and they would accept lodgements, which they do. I have to say that understandably the deeds office is still in a bit of a disarray at the moment. They do accept the lodgements, but we've got very little directives as to how our specific transactions that are currently in the pipeline, in other words, those transactions that have been lodged prior to the lockdown, how those would be processed and what the time frame involved in those specific aspects are. Now, for those people who don't know, one of the essential documents that we have to lodge with any transfer is a clearance certificate from the City Council. Now, that clearance certificate is only valid for a period of 60 days from the date of issuing of it. And you can imagine that those transactions that we've already lodged prior to lockdown, those clearance certificates have subsequently are very close to lapsing or have already lapsed per se. And without a fresh certificate, to put it bluntly that way, we can't register. So the practical problem that we have in the deeds office is that those specific aspects already lodged, or the transactions lodged, they need to be equipped with a fresh clearance certificate. And for that purpose, we need the City Council to issue that clearance certificate. Now, the City Council is not fully operational at this current stage. We do have a system in terms of which we can apply for clearance figures on the system, or electronically, as they say. I have to admit it's not highly effective, because due to the fact that there's a bottleneck, and obviously a lot of applications have been lodged electronically in the lockdown period. So we're waiting for the 18th, this coming Monday, in terms of which the City Council personnel will become operational again, and hopefully we will get that backlog worked out so that we can get the clearance certificates, and by then we will probably have more proper directives by the deeds office as to say how we're going to deal with our matters that are in the deeds office and our newly lodged documents. But again, deeds office obviously also being level 4 exemption, they can only start with limited personnel. So we've got limited examiners in the deeds office, limited administrative personnel. So it is going to be a bit of a creepy crawly situation to get up and running again, which is understandable. And I think the public, everybody is anxious, and we really want to get them registered and through very soon, but we have to practice patience in this regard.
Yeah, and I think with this crisis, I think everyone understands that it's just a clear indication, if you see all of the applications of that the economy is saying, let us go, let us run, let us get busy and work. So,
Definitely.
and I think what the government is also trying to do from their side is to make sure that they handle all of this and handle it in the right way so that we can proceed and not stop and have another bottleneck, because I think that's going to be the most frustrating thing.
I think it's very important. And I think where the frustration lies for everybody concerned, and nobody is exempt from this specific pandemic and the situation that we're currently in, is the lack of transparency. I think it's of the utmost importance. I mean, even if we had a specific discussion by President Ramaphosa yesterday evening, although people are kind of furious that he did not give us a clear indication or told us what we wanted to hear, I think the fact that they just spoke to us again already opened doors, and the transparency is very important. Even if you don't have something proactive to tell people, just tell them something, because it's important to let them know you're still there and that you are you're
fighting the good fight.
Correct. You're bearing their specific desperate needs in mind, and that it's receiving your urgent attention. I think that's important.
Yeah, so we are anxiously awaiting with the amazing, great news that one of these days we'll start working.
Well, definitely. Hopefully, we're going to see a relaxation to level 3, as we've heard yesterday evening, by the end of the month. I do believe we will see some informal, well, call them informal relaxations, with regards to certain commodities, etc., that will be available, and that might even see the light before level 3. We hope that would obviously ease our lives a little bit. But surely but slowly, I think we are getting there. We will go back to, I wouldn't say normal. I think the
new normal.
The uncomfortable is the new normal. So we would obviously come back to a tolerable situation quite soon.
Thank you, Johan. I really appreciate the fact that you take time out of your busy schedule. I know that you guys have opened and you are functioning, and you guys are busy, but I really appreciate the fact that you take this time to inform everyone that really have these answers to say what is the new and latest. Thank you for your time, Johan. Have a great day, everyone.